Live Wire Kitten is a version of the Live Wire series of trainers developed by Hal deBolt in the 1950s. They were very popular at the time as people were just starting to fly RF radio control with signal channel equipment. The Kitten was a smaller version of the Live Wire series for the 1/2 inches at the time. The Kitten I've always been interested in. I was actually looking on eBay to get a set of plans, did a little bit more Google search, and Model Airplane Plans does have a redo of this by Bob Albemarle in 1996. I got permission to redraw it, so it's a little bit more modern construction methods, very good set of plans. You can see the flying stabilizer here. Ordered a set and built the airplane. It's nothing super complicated, everything works, but it captures the size, moments, and flight characteristics of that 1953 Live Wire Kitten. Here's a fuselage under construction. You'll see that it's a fairly large fuselage bay for the heavy and bulky radio equipment of the 1950s, not a concern today. The frame is sturdy, it goes together well. Here's the wing on place in the fuselage. Again, very simple, just lays on the top of the fuselage. Plenty of room for the interior of the fuselage. You can see the servos installed here. This is the bottom of the airplane where the landing gear will go, and the very large hatch that I built for access to take the battery in and out. Continuing with the development, the cowl and cockpit section of the aircraft. And here's a view of the trial fit of the pilot and the pilot in place in the cockpit coming towards completion of the airplane. This is a view of the covered fuselage with the engine in place. The aluminum landing gear was purchased on eBay. This is a view of the underside where the battery is inserted. And again, another view of the top of the airplane with the equipment in place. Do keep in mind with these planes, they have enough clearance for the propeller. I have just enough with this one with the landing gear. Might put on larger wheels at a future time just to prevent a prop ding. Heading out to the field for the first flight. Plenty of rubber bands in place. Airplane all checks out. One last view of the airplane on the bench. Everything looks in place, no more excuses. Now we go off to fly. Gotta say the plane flew literally off the drawing board. There was no trim required, just some gentle turns initially to see how things handle for this wonderful flyer. So good morning. It's the day after our first flight with the Live Wire Kitten. This is a little bit of a debrief and discussion of some aspects of the airplane. The first flight yesterday, by the way, here is the Kitten. The first flight yesterday could not have gone any better. It literally flew right off the drawing board. There were light winds at the new RC field. It just flew. There wasn't any trim needed, did some gentle turns, you can see that in the video, just to feel it out. Came in for landing, got a little bit too comfortable with the airplane, a little bit slower than I wanted to, a little bit of a hard landing, no problem, it just flies great. I'm very happy with all of its characteristics. Some things to keep in mind, it is a 3-channel design. From the plans, I put in adequate down thrust and right thrust, which I think is always a good idea. But probably the biggest two things on this airplane, there is an airfoil and a stabilizer. The older models, this was designed originally in 1953, had actually flying stabs. The models just fly better with these, even though a little bit of extra work to build. The other thing was the size of the rudder. On the plans, I was a little bit concerned that the rudder wasn't big enough, and you just obviously want enough rudder to turn, so I enlarged this a little bit, and it turns out that it worked fine for the flying. The only other modification I made is I did add a steerable tail wheel just so I could tax around on the ground. The original model just had a skid as it was single channel. One thing that I want to show you on this model, another mod that I did, let me take off the wing. Okay, so here's the fuselage. You can see everything that's in the fuselage. It's really a pretty roomy fuselage. Notice how deep it is because the original airplane had to carry a lot of weight because the RC electronics of the day were pretty heavy. So this is pretty deep. What I did in order to access everything is I made a hatch for just about the entire bottom of the aircraft. If you notice, I just take this little latch. This is a Dubro spring right here with applied tongue and back. And this way the entire hatch comes off. And notice it gives very easy access to install the battery, and the servos are right here. They're upside down, so they're very easy to install and adjust from the bottom of the fuselage. Plenty of room here to do this. So just in conclusion, the Kitten flew fine. It's got plenty of power. I originally had a 2-cell LiPo battery in it. Had to go to a 3-cell for a little bit more power. Everything works fine. Couldn't be any happier, and look forward to future flights with this airplane. Again, a plans built airplane. Just go to model airplane plans and search for the live wire Kitten, and you'll find the plans. Everything's on that needed to build it.